If you're new to coaching and you want your team to stink at football, do not watch this video.
We're not going to get a second chance in the game.
Well, you made it this far in the video, so you must have a desire to be decent. Now, when it comes to your football team, there are a handful of things that are out of your control, but an overwhelming amount of not being bad is within your control. Now, I only know a lot of these things because I've made several of these mistakes myself over my 23-year career. So if you have a desire to cut back on the learning curve, to avoid more bad seasons, take a look at this and avoid these mistakes that I've made. Before I jump in, I want to give a huge shout out to these men and or women possibly that are supporting our channel by becoming members. Thank you to those of you who are members. And a special shout out to these three guys, Corey, Kyle, and Mr. Steve, who reached the 1-month subscriber milestone. Thank you guys for your support. Just came out with another mic'd up video this week from Cary Grove High School, one of the most successful high schools in Illinois. And now we're up to over 70 videos from our library that we've uploaded for our Touchdown members. If you love what we're doing here, click the join button and take a look at what we offer. Back into the presentation. Guys, 3 ways to make sure your team stinks. Now, I'm going to talk kind of candidly here, but that's mostly because I think it's more interesting if you do. I am telling you the truth when I say I have made all of these mistakes. So I am hoping that you want to shortcut this, avoid the bad seasons, and go to the good seasons. All right, number 1 way to make sure your team stinks, make it up. Come up with your own version. Fall back on your own knowledge, right? You're a new coach. You're new to coaching youth football. Maybe even you're just taking over a high school program. Just make it up. You know, lean back on what you used to do in high school, and you're a big Commanders fan, and so you're going to watch that game on the weekend. You love Jaden Daniels, and you love what they do. So just kind of make it up. Just draw up your own plays, get some pen and paper out, and just kind of do what looks cool, right? You love the idea. You got one really tall kid, so you're just going to throw it up to him. How many times I hear that? So just throw it up to him. That'll go really well. So just make it up. Okay, so if we look at this, we want chaos in our playbook. We want to spend a whole bunch of time right here in our playbook drawing up different ideas, and we want to spend almost no time over here in the details of our playbook telling our guys what exactly we do and how to troubleshoot, right? So if you want to make sure your team stinks, go ahead and just go with your own little version, right? So I'm going to use a little bit of what this coach does because I like it, and a little bit of this coach does because I like that, and a little bit of this because I think it could be really nasty. Okay, so if you want to be bad, go ahead and do that. That is exactly what I did in the 2 or 3 seasons I can think of that were the worst of my 23-year career. I was making it up. Okay, so if you like the sounds of that, go ahead, make up your playbook. Do not reach out to an excellent coach who has already had success at the youth or small high school level. Do not reach out to him and say, Coach, I want to do exactly what you do. Can you help teach me your base? Can you help teach me the base of your offense and defense? Just teach me. I want to know the rules. I want to know exactly how you teach it. I want to know exactly how you teach the snap for the quarterback. I want to know exactly how you teach these offensive linemen to block this play and exactly what you do when you get blitzers to pick those up. And I want to know exactly, do you block it differently if you have an odd front versus an even front? Or is that too much to ask my kids to do? Okay? Don't go directly to someone very successful and just steal his playbook word for word, 100% of what he's doing. Don't do that if you want your team to suck. Number two, ignore your O-line. If you want your team to be bad, ignore your O-line. And I mean ignore your O-line, meaning all the way in the offseason where you don't spend much time really detailing offensive line play. Not just how do you block. That's way too generic. You can find a lot of generic videos on YouTube, how to teach kids to block. Listen, it's way more than how to block. It is what to do when they do this. if they do this, we need to do this. Okay, so I'm getting backwards here, right? I'm starting to tell you what to do if you want to be good. Again, if you want to suck, just draw lines on paper and then wait for the season to start. And your team will likely be not very good. Send your newest coach, who has very little who doesn't think a lot about how he wants to be good at football or how the team wants to be good. Send your newest guy and your guy that spends the least amount of time studying other coaches. Put that guy, and he's in charge of the O-line. If you want your team to stink, then that's what you should do. Your newest guy, right? And you, let's say you are the most experienced one. You are the most invested in your team, right? You're the one that wants to see your team do the best because you're the head coach. So if you're the most experienced and the most invested by a long shot on your staff, make sure you just stay with your running backs and quarterbacks because it's very tempting because they're the best athletes. And then just put the newest guy over with the O-line. Give them a piece of paper, draw up the plays, and say, teach them those. If you want to be bad, do that. Again, I know this because I've been there, right? I didn't have bad coaches there, but I clearly didn't have our best. I didn't emphasize it on the, again, I'm thinking of very specific years where we struggled the most. I was making these mistakes. And number 3, if you want your team to stink, just change your offense and defense a lot, right? So 1 week, run an even front, and the next week, run an odd front. And the next week, change something totally different and just put an extra guy down there, right? We might call it a bear front, although if you're newer to football, you're not really familiar with a lot of these terms. Just change it all the time if you want to make sure you're bad. Now, there are teams out there that are good football teams that run a lot of different fronts, but that's different than changing your defense. When you're a new coach and you are coaching at the youth level or even small high school level, and you got 20 kids on your team, 25 kids on your team, your best bet at being bad is to do something different every week. Okay, so if you want to be bad, do something different every week and do something different on offense every week. Install new plays and try something new, and then 1 week go to the gun, and the next week stay under center. Do that. Change as much as you can, as often as you can, if you want your team to stink. Okay, let's say that you don't want to stink. 3 quick tips for making sure your team don't stink, for making sure your team doesn't stink. And I beg you to take these to heart without just repeating myself over and over or telling you how important it is. I beg you to take these to heart because in my career, in the amount of football that I've studied, the amount of coaches that I've interviewed, these are the things that keep coming back and repeating themselves over and over to giving you the best chance at being good. Number 1, if you want to go fast, steal someone else's offense 100%. They're successful. What are they doing? Steal it 100%. Don't make up your own. Don't do anything of your own. If you do this successfully for 2 or 3 years, slowly but surely, your own flair will begin to be put into it. But start by just stealing someone's. Next, you coach the O-line. Send the next best coach in your system with the backs, with the quarterbacks. Again, those are your best athletes. And when you come together in team, you're going to see them all work. But you need to put either yourself or if you have a friend on your staff that is, is better coach than you or is as invested as you. I'm not talking like he was an old O-lineman, so he's going to do it. He could do it better than me. I never played O-line. No, that's not good enough reason. It's who's invested. You, as a guy who's never played football before, could be a better offensive line coach for your kids than a man who's coached the offensive line or played it his whole life. If you are more invested in this team, you want to see it do well, and he's just kind of helping you out. And number 2, you're the one that has bought into the system, right? You're the one that went and found the other coach that's already successful at this and stole his system word for word. You're the one that is invested in that way. So if you have another man, whether he's an O-line coach or not, that wasn't with you when you stole that other person's system, then you're going to be better served to be the O-line coach than him. Because most guys, most men, I can be the same way. We do what we were taught, right? So he's going to want to do what he was taught, what he used to do, maybe even played in college. He's going to do what he was taught. He's going to do what he thinks is best. But what gives you the best chance of success is doing what the system does, what the coach who's had success already, what he does in his system. Do that. And then choose an offense and a defense and do the same one for 9 weeks. Just do it all, right? I say 9 weeks, but however long your season is, do that same one over and over and over, week in, week out, and this will help you not to stink at football. Thanks for joining me today on this football rant. Hey, if you love it, find a guy that is presenting on our site, whether it's on the presentations we've already released that are free, or it's right there if you're a Touchdown member and you're seeing these presentations. You watch a presentation, you find a guy you like, you email him, and he will help you. He will help you get started. Tell him what age you coach, what you're thinking about doing, and get details from him. Almost every coach will share. That is how you can make sure you're going to be good next year.